All right, guys, I'm going to share with you something that I started doing this year, and I know that it's a little controversial when it comes to the goat world. Today, I'm going to go over all the things that I use in order to disbud my kids here on the farm. And when I tell you that this is a controversial topic, it means that there are two houses of thinking in the goat world, which means you should disbud. It is safe for you. It is safe for the animal. It takes away a lot of the what ifs, the stress, and injuries. And then you have the other house of thought where they're saying, don't touch them. That's nature's way of them circulating blood up through their horns and to cool off and do all the things that a goat is supposed to do. They're a defensive measure, all of those things, but they also sometimes are a defensive measure against you when you're working with them. I raised boar goats for years. So I do know what it's like to raise animals with horns. And I do know what it's like to see does pick up kids and break each other's legs in fights or jam and jab. I've been on the receiving end of many horns when it comes to bucks and does, just not meaning to hurt me because I was number one in their space and they were just turning their heads. And then there were instances where they darn well meant to hurt me, and I was glad I was quick enough and that I was prepared for it, because it could have been a really bad injury. So I am in the wheelhouse now with dairy goats that I work with every single day, but we're also a part of performance programs, which means we take part in shows. And per the American Dairy Goat Association's disqualifications, horns is one of those. So every animal that walks into an ADGA sanctioned ring must be disbudded or polled, which means they cannot walk in with horns. Skurs are excusable as long as they're not too crazy, and that's at the discretion of the judge. But I'm just gonna go over some things here. So if you disagree with me or you have your reasonings as to why you think it's terrible to disbud or why you should leave horns on, that's fine. Drop those down in the comments. I'm not going to promise you I'm going to read them because that's your opinion. 100% you're right. Voice it, do whatever, but you're not going to change mine. And I'm still going to try to be educational for those in the same wheelhouse of mindset here that are probably doing the same thing that I'm doing, and they're disbudding kids. Now I use the Reinhardt X50A here, which is an electric calf dehorner. This is the tip that I have on it. I'm gonna go ahead and actually start getting ready to plug it in. I just wanna go over some things with this specific model. Now it does have two different settings, but I like this a lot. It gets very, very fast, very, very quick. It can be a little finicky because its heads are interchangeable, but that's also some of the appeal. I have gloves for my own protection for my hands. This is Banamine. I give Banamine to my kids right before. And by right before, I mean about 25 to 30 minutes prior to me getting ready to disbud. And that's about how long it takes this iron to get hot to where it's leaving black marks on this board that I'm getting ready to show you. But the reason I give Banamine is because Banamine is a painkiller, but it's also an anti-inflammatory. So it can kind of combat some of those ill effects that disbudding can have, especially if your iron gets too hot and you don't notice, or you're just not very skilled yet. I mean, you can fry kids, guys. It's heat on the skull. Babies are young. Their skulls are more fragile than others. This is the reason why I do have the calf dehorner, because it is fast. Like, I literally go maybe 5 to 6 seconds on each side and I'm good. I might go back and touch up on the very bud at the very end, but for the most part, I don't have any problems with disbudding so far when it comes to skurs. Now you see I've got my handy dandy piece of scrap wood, and these burn holes, that is so that I can test my iron tip to make sure that it is hot enough. If it doesn't leave these black rings, or it doesn't smoke or almost even flame up when I put it to it, it's not hot enough. You can tell, like right here is where I've tried to test it and it just was not hot enough. I have clippers because I actually like to shave the bud site on my kids just to make sure that I get a nice clean burn, and I can actually see what I'm doing, because sometimes even these kids, which ours are about 9 to 10 days old, even some of like the young Nigerian dwarfs, you still can't really see the buds. You can feel them, but if you can make sure that you're hitting the bud, that really helps. I keep a first aid kit here for safety. I keep a fire blanket here just in case I have to take this on the road to help somebody and they don't have a room that kind of doesn't have any non-flammables. If they're in a barnyard or like in the yard, we actually lay this down where I can sit on top of this disbudding box. Now that brings us to our disbudding box, and you can see it's got a nice little holder here and a brace. I have Nigis, they're small, so I'm gonna go ahead and open this up, and you can see I've got towels in the bottom of this. and their bellies go right over that. Hold their head here, put it down. I can go ahead and lock it to make sure. And then I literally sit over the top of it like this. So I am right behind the kid's head, and I can maneuver the head which way, hold ears, restrain the snout so that I make sure I'm getting really, really good contact. Do you have to have a disbudding box? No, you don't. And I am gonna go ahead and hook up my disbudder. I have only 3 kids to do. So when I do that, it's gonna take about 20 minutes. I'm in an enclosed room in my barn. I'm gonna close off this, and the reason I'm closing off all of the doors is it's really windy. I don't need any flammable substances being caught by the wind and being thrown onto the iron, because I'm gonna put the iron on and I'm gonna lay it right there flat on that board. It just makes it safe. I'd never leave your disbudding iron unattended for very long. Like for me, I'm literally just walking down, dumping food for the dogs and the bucks, and I'm walking right back up. And one of the things that I forgot to tell you that I also use once I am done disbudding my kids is I use the udder spray, the fight back spray, because it acts as a coolant, but it also has bacterial fighting substances in it, and hence why it's okay to disinfect udders with it to prevent mastitis. It just really does a good job cooling their head down really fast. But it also makes sure that bacteria doesn't take hold and you don't get a nasty infection under a scabbed over disbudding site. So we're getting really close. You can see that that portion of the disbudder is getting red and hot, and watch. Just as I put it down, that smoke shoots out. Nice black ring. We're probably ready to roll here in just a few minutes. So I'm just gonna go ahead. I like to kind of hold them kind of nice and secure up against. I turn it on so they can hear it, because this is kind of a worrisome noise around their head. I'm gonna get my hair out of the way so I don't clip my hair. You could also put them in the disbudding box and do this too, but I've just found, like, I like to hold my babies, and because of that, they're comfortable being held like this, and I don't think it's as stressful for me to hold them and do this as it is to put them in that box and then to feel like kind of weirdly restrained, versus like feeling like they're just getting cuddled and hugged. Sometimes that burnt hair is sometimes what throws moms off too. When you put babies back in, sometimes that smell makes mom like, who are you? So I just feel like if we eliminate some of that hair around it, he doesn't have as much of that smell about him when he goes back in with mom, even though Rapunzel is a seasoned mother. But I'm going to show you guys. You can see like his bud site. You can see those. Just try to make sure they're not pinched or anything. Locking that up. And the important thing here is that it's a quick burn and it's solid. I have found that because I am right hand dominant, when I take my disbudder, I make great contact here, but because I am reaching across this way, sometimes I don't make as good a contact and I get scurs on the left side of my animals. So I just try to make sure that I really have good, even contact. And when I hold them down, I try to kind of face them. I like to bring their ear down here almost, where my fingers can hold it down, because I don't want their ears in the way to burn them. So I'm gonna go ahead and start to hold him real nice and firm. He's not gonna like it, but I'm just gonna find it. One, two. I know. Okay. I'm gonna look and see if I've got a nice copper ring. I do have a nice copper ring. I'll probably go back and touch the top of that bud just to make sure, and make sure I've got a good ring. So now we're gonna do this side, and because I am a righty, I have to really be careful about how I disbud this one. I know, buddy. So I'm just gonna hold him like this. I'm gonna take my disbudder. I'm gonna test it, just make sure it's still holding heat. It's still good and hot. So I'm gonna go ahead. while they're in here, we do the fight back. Just wait on there. And it sizzles, so it's taking heat off. But I'm gonna show you what this looks like. So you can see Chill Pill has 2 good copper rings all the way around. And just like that, we got 3 kids done. It's pretty quick succession. Takes me, you know, maybe 2 or 3 minutes a kid with shaving and everything, with making sure the iron's hot, putting the iron on them, cooling down a little bit between each one if it seems like the kid needs it, and to apply fight back and just give them a little snuggle because sometimes they just want to snuggle after that. So I know you guys can't see them in here, but they're both in here. I reintroduced them to mom butt first because no hair on their butt has been burned. And another good temperature, a way to take a good temperature on how a kid is reacting to being disbudded is when you put them in with mom, do they go right in for a suckle? Because nursing is a comfort thing for them. If they go right in and they nurse, then I know that they're all together up here. That basic function of I don't feel great, that was stressful, I want something to comfort me, and that is nursing off of my mother. And that mom lets them, then I know all systems are go. We usually don't have problems. It's when you have kids that go in and are kind of like glassy-eyed, or just act like they don't know what to do. I speak out of experience, not out of the kids that I've disbudded. I did have one that I had disbudded by the vet, and it was one of those where we had a bunch of kids born, and I think we had 12 to 13 kids that were being disbudded all at one time. And vets are trying to get in and trying to get out. So I don't blame the vet. I honestly should have stepped in and said, hey, you need to wait for the iron to heat back up. But at the very end, and it was a butane heated disbudder, that I just noticed she kept putting the iron on her because the iron wasn't hot enough to actually give her a copper ring. But in the process, she fried my goat. She fried my baby goat. So when I tell you that there are instances where this goes wrong, like that, it's like that with anything that is normally done for goats. There is a possibility it could go wrong. And there is no shame that if you see this and you're like, I still want to show my goats, but I don't think I can stand disbudding kids. That's fine. Vets can do that. There are other people, goat mentors that are very well seasoned, probably could do that for you. All 3 kids are done. You can see Mr. Chill Pill in there with Rapunzel. He's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. These girls will probably just go curl up in that corner. And this is also why I have heat lamps off, to dim it in here for them so that we keep stress levels down. While I think they're fine. They've had their Banamine. There's nothing crazy that happened. They're acting good now. It was a stressful experience, and stress is the main killer of goats. So I've just made sure to kind of give them a nice calm place with their mom. Nice and warm. It's about 50 degrees right now, so we technically don't need those heat lamps. We haven't needed them like all day today. But this is another reason why I'm going to just go ahead and leave them off. But if you guys have questions about this, or if you see anything that I did that's different that maybe you don't agree with, or things that you want more explanation on as to why we do them, drop that in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer. If you disagree with me, like I said, let me know you disagree with me. Just know that I'm not going to fight back with you, and my opinion and the way I do it on my farm is my opinion and the way that I do it on my farm, and you're probably not going to change it, but you can have at it if you want. So guys, I think that's going to do it for us on our disbudding video here today. I think it went pretty good. I was just glad it was only 3. But other than that, guys, we're done. I am excited to share this endeavor with you guys. This is something I thought I never could do, which if you've been around on my channel long enough, you guys know I often share things that I have been intimidated by, and we go through it together. Disbudding has been one, ultrasounding has been one, pressure canning has been one, soap making I haven't shared with you guys just yet, but I've been doing it for 2 years, and I had a really successful year this year selling at my local crafters markets. So I will start videoing that for you, and really that scared the dickens out of me too, and I feel really, really confident in my techniques and my recipes, so I hope to share that with you soon, guys. But that's going to conclude it for us today, guys. Thank you so much for spending time with us here on Mulberry Branch Farm. I hope that you learned something, and I hope that I inspire you to tackle things that might seem overwhelming at first, but to persevere and to be a stronger and more self-sufficient person in doing those things. So in the meantime, guys, we hope that you're all staying safe out there and being kind to one another. God bless you. I will catch you on the next one. Bye, y'all.